Hi friends, welcome back to my channel Testing Mini Bytes. I am your friend Amudan Shaktivel, and in this video, we're gonna see more about how we can do the code refactoring for test automation framework. Again, before that, I thought of covering a recap what we have covered so far in this particular series. First, them whenever you do a code refactoring, do a little change and then test it. Right, that's a better way. Don't do a bulk of a change and then you scratch your head where you have made the changes and what causes it to not working. Okay, so the best approach is change a little, test a little, and then keep the readability, reusability as your thumb rule. Okay, when these two things, if you're thinking about these two things, the design patterns, the single responsibility principle, don't repeat yourself. There are a lot of principles, right? So in programming, there are a lot of principles, clean code principles and design practices, but all these things have only one thing in mind, right? Readability and the reusability, right? And if you have this in mind, I think everything should fall in place, right? We'll learn about all those things at a later point of time, but we, we are starting with very basic things, and we'll get um, touch on these topics in the later point of time, right? And do everything with a reason behind this. Understand why we are using any files. Understand why you are using a name like this, right? So have a reason behind everything that you develop. That's a very important thing. If you think about the reason, it's not very common that you develop everything without a mistake at the first point of time, but keep asking these questions very often. Why I have done this? Okay, do I have a substantial reason behind that? If you ask this question, you continuously strive to improve yourself in the way you code, right? And how you approach the problems. Again, think about the longer run, right? Think about how you can add more test cases in the future, how you can add new functionalities in the future, right? That's when you get to leverage the whoops, the object oriented programming that the Java can provide. That's very important, right? How maintainable is your test cases, how easy to add new test cases, right? Again, you can impress people with your code. Just keep this in your mind. Even if it is your girlfriend, you can definitely impress her with your code. So try to write better code, right? And use the condition that occurs the most on the top in a if else condition. Again, we have seen a very good use case of why we need to add the most common or occurring condition on the top of if else, right? uh, yeah, so if you haven't watched that video, please watch that video before heading this to this. Again, we also understand simple IntelliJ tricks like live templates, local history. I see a lot of good comments about how to use this local history. If you deleted a file without knowing it, so you can retrieve it back without much of hindrance, right? So please leverage all these things. Yeah, so without wasting much time, we'll get into today's topic. And for today's topic, again, we'll go to the same old project that we have. We'll try to come from top, and then we'll try to fix this. Again, I normally take any particular test case. Okay, I'll take any of these test case. I'll see how they have coded and then try to optimize this. But there are a lot of problems with this particular class itself, so let's try to avoid this with simple tricks, and then we'll go to the these test cases later point of time, because that has a lot of issues. They have a lot of problems with their page object designs. We need to avoid that. That takes a lot of time, so we'll head first to the simple ones, right? Good. So now, so this is the stuff, and here if you notice the import statements. Okay, there are a lot of import statements one from one particular package. If you notice, in the Selenium package itself, they have so many import statements, right? It's better if you have a lot of import statements from one particular class. It's better to replace them with the wildcard, right? That's a better thing to do. Again, once you do this, you don't need this anymore. Okay, you can remove them. Again, if you have unused imports, you can also use shortcuts to remove it, right? You can see the shortcuts on top of the screen, right? Again, you also have three from this annotations package, so obviously you can replace them with the wildcards. So it basically makes your code much better, right, than before. That's the beauty thing about this, right? Again, as I told, base class doesn't implies anything. In our case, the base class basically means it's a base test, right? Again, I see some errors here. Yeah, so I need to import these classes. Yeah, these are all very specific classes, so I cannot ignore them. Good. And yeah, now, so if you notice, we have a name as base class, which is wrong. So let me try to replace this with base test, right? At least This is the easiest name that I could think about, but it's better you think about different names very often and then try to fit in the most correct one, right? Good. Once I done this, again we have a lot of chaos here. It takes time to fix it. So first, I'll do the ordering. Always have your static members on the top. That's a very good convention. So it is common to all the class members, right? So keep it on the top, and then you have your you know instance variables. But again, this has a lot of problems. We'll fix it. Okay. Now let's go here. And if you notice, the name is set up. Okay, it's better to name this as uh, set up, yeah, with the camel casing, or you can also set up driver or set up browser is more readable. Anyone who can just see this name can understand what this does, right? Good. So setup browser is something that I could think about now. You can optimize this later. And then same way, you can also use tear down and then browser, right? That's more readable as well, yeah, because they does only one thing. The good thing about these methods are they do only one thing. Okay, they just setting up the browser, they just tearing down the browser. That's a very good thing. Whatever the code that I have written in that way is good. A function or a method that you know that should always do only one thing, right? Like a class should have only one responsibility. The same way a method should also have only one thing that it has to do, right? It should not do a lot of things. Good. So now, once this is done, and then we have also have a doubt, right? Whether I can use a if or a switch. That's the most common doubt that we normally have. Using an if or a switch should be avoided as much as possible. Only special case is when we use if conditions inside a factory design pattern. That time you can have it. Again, I have the videos for factory design pattern. You can check out my tutorials on design patterns. But the thing is, for now, we will have just a condition where we have to use if else or switch. First case, you can use if else or switch interchangeably if there is only two or three, right? Two or three branches in the if else. But if there are more, right, then obviously go for the switch, because switch is faster, because it uses jump tables behind the hood. I don't want to explain what that in detail, but imagine that your switch cases are much faster than your if conditions. If the the branches are more, right, more than two or three. If there is two or three branches, go for switch. Again, there are three branches here, so obviously I can go to switch, right? And again, most importantly, if you use if else condition, if there are conditionals, here there is no conditionals, right? So this is very small conditions, ignore equals ignore case of chrome. But when I mean conditionals, so if the I is greater than 10, if it is less than 5, you have more conditional logics. Then prefer if, because we cannot do it with switch are best when you have a string or enums, and then you want to make a case out of it, then you can always prefer switch. I remember switches are fast when there are more branches. If is not as good as even the switch is very readable if it's not, in most of the cases. So now there is a there is no big conditions here. So what I can basically do, I can replace this if with a switch. I don't have to type it myself. I basically press the alt and enter in the if conditions. So it tells me whether you want to invert the if condition or I want to replace this with switch. Yeah, it does the job for me. Good. Again, I will remove this because we have already learned about this, right? Cool. If this is Chrome, it will work. If Firefox is fine, and default it throws an exception. Again, if you don't want to throw an exception, because you are someone who don't want to throw an exception, because it's okay to run on any browser, right? If you are relying on a results, better to run it on a default browser rather than shutting down the program, right? So in those cases, what I can basically do, I can copy paste this. Again, there is a principle called don't repeat yourself. If you repeat the same lines of code again and again, even my IntelliJ IDE is suggesting, hey, delete this switch branch. Okay, that's fine, I'll do that. And if you notice, it's telling if there is Firefox, you run the Firefox, or in all other cases you do this. Again, there is also chance that somebody might pass Chrome something like this. Okay, and in those cases it won't match, or if they pass Firefox in capital letters. Okay, it won't match. Okay, so this will fail. So what I can do to avoid that, maybe browser dot equals ignore case. Okay, so this conditional logic you cannot write it here, right? So or what you can do is basically you can do two lowercase, right? So that's the best thing you can do now, two lowercase. Yeah, good. Again, now what it's telling, see, switch statement has very less blocks. Why do you want to really use a switch, replace with the if, right? So that's fine, then I'll use like this. But the problem again here, right, guys, we're trying out different things, right? That's the reason we are not directly using. Okay, if you want to throw the exception, then use a switch. If you don't want to throw an exception, use a default browser, use something like this. Again, if you notice, this is not that readable, right? Again, I don't have to use two lowercase. Instead, if I'm just going to use that in a condition, I can directly use ignore case, right? Now I go here, I'll try to extract this as a local variable, or maybe I'll cut it, right? So because this is not that readable, so what I can do, I can introduce a boolean variable here, right? So maybe the name is Firefox, right? Okay, that's good, right? Now I can paste it here. Now anyone can read this code. Okay, so if it is Firefox, do this. If it is not Firefox, in all the cases, just use a Chrome, right? That's more reasonable and sound. Again, if there is only if and else, you can basically try to see whether you can fit in an ternary operator. I hope everyone knows how an if ternary thing works. So if you think about it, maybe there is a method and some underlying logic here. So I'm not doing that. If it is a very simple return statement, so you can do that. Yeah. So now this code looks much neat. Again, whenever you are using if conditions, don't use, try to avoid this one. Okay, try to use without the not operator. But you can also write the same code like this. Okay, so you can do is Chrome, and you can check with Chrome, right? And then here you can write is Chrome, right? The code works absolutely the same. If it is not Chrome, you do this. Else it's not readable, right? That's what I'm telling. So try to avoid the negations as much as possible, right? If it is not Chrome, oh okay, if it is not Chrome, okay, you do this. Okay, if it is Chrome, do this. Okay, you internally think about how this thing works, right? That's some problem. There is little bit of readability that's getting affected. So it's better uh, to not use negations, right? That's a good thing. Don't use negations when there is an absolute need. Okay, so because without negations your code is more readable, right? We have this, that's absolutely fine, right? Again, if you notice, we have capture screen, right? Why do you want to have this here, right? That makes no sense. Again, if you notice, they're coupling some non-static methods with static methods. Again, these are all stuff that should not be here, right? If you want a reusability, don't leverage inheritance. Okay, that's a very bad thing. Inheritance is not for reusability. So what I have to do, this definitely I need to fix this now. So what I can do, I have to move this to a different class, because these two things do one thing. Okay, they have single responsibility, like they have to generate some random string or numbers, right? Again, there are a lot of spelling mistakes here, typos. We should avoid that, right? And you'll also see where they are using this, right? If you press Control and G, they will basically tell you where they are using it. Okay, they are using this in test class. There is a method called add new customer test method, where they are generating an email ID. So if you are generating an email ID, why you are enclosing this, you know adding this @gmail.com in the test code? Okay, rather you could have created a method called a random email and then fetch the email directly. Why do you want to do this logic? Okay, because it is possible that you can use this random email in multiple places. In all those places you have to append this logic. Again, if you want to change tomorrow, instead of @gmail.com, you want the something in random. Okay, you want at outlook.com. Okay, you want at yahoo.co.in, right? You want to change the logic, you cannot do that in the test classes. That's the problem with this. Okay, let's try to fix this. Yeah, we understood what is this, and let's try to fix this, right? Good. Now what I'm gonna do, I have to extract this as a class, but I don't know where to do. I cannot definitely do this in test Java. That is very bad because it's not related to test. Okay. So don't keep anything related to test here. We'll move other packages later, but for now, I will basically go and create a directory called as src main Java. Okay. Inside that they have used com.nop commerce. That's the package name. I don't know what is nop, maybe the project name is that. So we'll try to use the same convention what the people have used. So the stuff is basically com.nop commerce. Okay. And then I want to create a package for the utilities. So maybe you can name it as utilities or just utils. Both are more readable. And yeah, and the class name that I want to create is basically, this is a random generators, right? So random utils, yeah, that's more meaningful. Random generators, random string generators. No, string generators might not be the case. So maybe random utils is fine for me, right, for now. If you want, I will change it later. And now I have to move this two lines of code. So let's go here and cut this two things and come here, place it. Again, it is showing some problems. Okay, let's see what is the problem. Okay, it cannot find this. Okay, it is asking where you import this, where you want to, from where you want to use this. Okay, for now, you can basically use random utils dot, yeah. Yeah, we'll change, optimize this code later. Yeah. So now you have a static methods. Again, what people will do, they will come directly extend this class. So I don't want people to extend this class. I'll make it as final. Okay. And then they also can create an object for this to access the static methods. Accessing a static method using objects is very wrong. I'll speak about this in maybe next video, but that shouldn't you should not do that. Okay. So what you can do, basically you can expose a private constructor so that people won't create an object for this. Okay. That's something that you need to do. Now this class has only two static methods. Again, guys, this can be also implemented with singleton without static methods. I'll speak about that in few minutes. Okay. What is the advantage of static methods? What are the disadvantage? When you should use static, when you should not use static? How we can change this logic? We'll see that in detail. Okay, maybe in the upcoming video. But for now, yeah, we'll try to fix this. So instead of this, maybe the user should have named this as get random. Yeah, he just wants a random email ID for sign up, right? Get random email is more meaningful, or get random email address, right? Again, if you notice, uh, it's even telling me inline variable. So you can basically do like this, right? You don't have to really create an local variable. There is no harm in creating local variable, but still this is more readable as well, right? So generated string 2, it doesn't convey me anything. Okay, it's better not to name something like this. Instead, basically you can directly call them back. Again, I can add my logic here, right? So let's go back. Okay, instead of, this is the generator string, maybe I'll name it as generator string. And what I can do, when I send it, okay, I need to send it as generator string plus gmail.com. Okay. Okay, this is fine. What else? For generating a random number. Okay, let's see where they are using this random number. Okay, again, guys, when you change the name, don't change it directly. Maybe I will change it using the, so if you use the shortcuts, right, which is shift plus F6, it will change automatically in the place where it is used. So get random email. Okay, good. And here, again, I'll use like this, and let's use generator string plus gmail.com. Good. And here again, it's still showing some problem. Okay, it should have changed here. Okay, then random email. Okay, whatever. Good. This is not at all used, so maybe this method is not needed. Okay, I don't know why they have it. Okay, even if they have it, let's name it as, I don't know for what reasons they want this number. Maybe it's a four digits pin code. Who knows it, right? So better name it as get random. I don't know what to name this. So again, this method is not even used, so better to remove this, right? So if it's not used, why you want this? Okay, good. Good. So now this is fine, but you know imagine this is a third party. Okay, whenever you are using a third party library, okay, it's always required you to provide an abstraction layer. Okay, whenever you use whenever you use third party libraries, you add an abstract layer. Okay, people call it as facade pattern. That's different, but just very simple thing. Okay, I'll tell you what is the reason. Okay, now this method have two reasons to change. Okay, so there are two reasons for this method to change. First reason is if there is any business requirement. Okay, what is a business requirement? Okay, tomorrow they want this outlook.com, they want it as yahoo.com. Okay, or if the sometimes they want to send they want to pick uh, they have some weird requirements, right? They want to generate a random string with this suffix as different email address. Okay, so they have some weird business requirement. Okay, or in sometime they want some get random email, they want to pass some default value, they don't want anything random. Okay, for some time. Okay, so in that cases, they have to do some change. So that is the first way when you have to touch this method. The second time is when there is actually a change in this third party library. Okay, if there is a change in this library, okay, instead of random alphabetic, they change the name to random alphabet. Okay, so there are two reasons. Okay, if there is change in third party library. Okay, maybe they would have deprecated this method, they would have introduced new methods. Okay, this can normally happen, right? You cannot have that in your control. So in those cases, you have to change this method. So there are two cases. So but if you are changing this method for two cases, you might have to write some logic this if some that. Okay, so it's better to use an abstract layer over this. More than I don't understand what is that. So just create a new class, guys, that's it. Okay, let me name it as random service, a random business utils, something like this. Okay, so I have a service. Okay, let's see. So I have a random service in that maybe I'll keep this as a final for now. I don't want someone to extend this. I also introduce a, again guys, I'll come to this, I'll replace this with singleton later, but for now be with me, right? So here get random email should be here. Okay, and what should be here then? So here, so you can have it something like this. Okay, um, generate a random string. Okay, again, if you if you want it 6 digits, you cannot have one more method. Okay, so basically int the number of digits. See guys, I'm giving more meaningful names. Okay, I'm not giving n. Okay, it will work if I use just n. Okay, it'll work, but I don't want to give that because I want that to be more readable, right? N doesn't conveys anything, but number of digits conveys a meaningful stuff. So number of digits again. Okay, so now it'll not do too much of thing. Okay, okay, so what I can basically do is have it here. Okay, if somebody calling this method, it basically takes in number of digits and generate a random alphabets, with 5 digits or whatever the digits they passed. That's the first thing, right? And now I go here, I unwrap all my business logic here. Okay, this is the place where I don't have to do this logic. Rather, I need a random string. Okay, I read a random string. What I can do is random utils dot generate random string. Okay, how many digits you want? 5 digits I want. Okay, that's fine, I'll generate it for you. So now what are the business changes there? Okay, first we'll fix the problem. Okay, we'll go here and we'll fix this problem first. Okay, we don't need this @gmail.com anymore. So random service. Okay, dot get. So this get email will get him all the things. Okay, always you interact with the service layer, where you can control the business logic. Get random email, you go here. So again, if there is change in the business logic, I come perform the business change here. Okay, if there is a third party change, okay, I don't have to touch my business layer. Okay, In this way, I go here. If there is a problem, tomorrow they change this or deprecated this method, I want to use a different method, I'll just come and change this place. Okay. Do all your third party requirement changes here. Okay. That's it. Okay. So you do all these things in this class, right? So that's how your code should look like. Again, I don't want to write a lot of unmeaningful command. As a clean practice, we shouldn't do that. Let's also remove the unused imports from the classes. So I hope you all have understood what I'm doing here. Okay, I have introduced an abstract layer called as random service that encapsulates all the business logic. So tomorrow, if they want to change this to Yahoo or outlook.com, I can simply come and change it here. Okay, good. So the same way, if there is any third party changes, so I can directly come and change here, because I see most of the third party libraries gets evolved, right? While evolving, they may deprecate some methods, they may add new methods. In those cases, you should touch and change only one place. Okay, so that's all for today. We'll see about remaining things in the next video. I'll see you guys in another great video. Until then, tada, bye bye from bye.